Audio difficulty.
Okay.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette, and we're so glad you're with us on a busy day to stay curious with Jonathan Ward. Welcome, Jonathan.
Hey, nice to be here, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Well, you're welcome. We're honored to have you here. He just wrote his fourth book about Eileen Collins and breaking the glass ceiling into space, or I don't have it in front of me, the exact title, but it's her breaking the glass ceiling.
Through the glass ceiling to the stars.
Through the glass ceiling to the stars. Eileen Collins, a well-loved, revered first pilot and then first commander who's a female of a spaceship. Jonathan's going to tell us about that. He wrote what many of us consider the definitive book about the Columbia disaster, Bringing Columbia Home with Mike Leinbach. And you wrote two books about the rocket ranch, about the Apollo program and then the unmanned programs out there. We're just 10 miles where we're sitting, Jonathan, from where your books are all about there. So welcome to Stay Curious. How does it feel to be an author of 4 books? Did you ever think that would happen in your life?
I had no idea that that would happen. No, I started writing one, and then one got turned into 2 because my publisher said no one would buy a 700-page book.
Right.
So that turned into 2, and then the other ones just came about, and I'm just thrilled that they've turned out to be so successful.
Well, Jonathan, tell us where you grew up. Tell us where you live and how you got. He's a very good amateur astronomer. He's gonna give us some insight to the Viking cruise that you want to go on in the Mediterranean and all those fun places, because that's something new that he's picked up. Jonathan, you're definitely a Renaissance man after so many people, my friends in astronomy. Aren't I right? Astronomy people usually are very ambitious and have a lot of interests.
Well, I think that maybe that comes from keeping your head up all the time and looking up and looking around instead of looking down at your feet on the ground sometimes all the time. But no, I mean, I grew up lived most of my life in the Washington, D.C. area, and was very fortunate in ninth grade to be able to work at the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum as a summer intern, as a tour guide.
And wasn't Mike Collins the director of the 2B? They were building it when you were there.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. This was still in the Arts and Industries building, and they still had like an old World War I era hangar that they had some of the airplanes.
And you're a teenager in Washington, D.C. Oh my gosh, that's
yeah,
a space geek getting turned on by. Do you have a Mike Collins story for us?
Probably the best story of that was I was there during the Apollo 15 mission, and number one, I got to drive a lunar rover before I was old enough to drive a car.
No way.
So yeah, they had a little demo lunar rover there, which was I got to drive that on the mall for a few feet, and that was fun. But then I knew Al Worden was going to be doing his deep space EVA after they left the moon.
Spacewalk, going back from the moon, Apollo 15. He's got to retrieve the film. That's why I keep this handy here.
Yeah.
To let people know, is that insane that an astronaut had to risk his life to go outside the spaceship halfway between here and the moon to get their data?
Yeah. Yeah. So we had to go out there, and I knew this was going to be going on, and I snuck away from my duties of leading tours to go up to the library in the museum, where I knew they had like this little 11-inch black and white TV. It was on the table in the library, and I turned on the news and was watching that, and then Mike Collins walked in and sat down at the table across from me, and the two of us just sat there and watched this in silence, and I kept trying to think of something I could say to this man who had just gone to the moon himself less than 2 years before.
Yeah.
And of course, I couldn't come up with anything except to ask him about one lunar crater that he didn't remember. But
oh, really?
Yeah. But
you ever heard of Copernicus?
I was trying to sound like I knew something, but
Well, he was a spacewalker himself on Gemini 10 with John Young.
Right.
He did a 90-minute spacewalk. Actually rode they docked into a rocket called the Agena, and he rode it like a cowboy.
Yeah.
On there, yeah. And fascinating. We lost him, of course, last year at age 90. And we're going to honor him as well as all of our fallen heroes this Saturday. Memorial's taking place now on the Space Coast for our fallen heroes. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I want to talk more about Jonathan, things that you don't know about him, because we know a lot of you space lovers do know him because you're watching us on Facebook Live, on YouTube, on Twitch. We're also on Spotify now, and this program, Tell Your Friends, will be audio on Apple and Google. And isn't that amazing?
We're not on Tinder yet, though, are we?
I don't know what
okay.
Tinder is. No, it's Tinder. Oh, is that
one
of the adult dating sites?
Yeah, that's right.
I'll have to ask Marty about Tinder. And then he throws his hand up, which I haven't said hi to my partner in crime here, Marty Winkle, my co-producer. Jonathan has been on before with Mike Lineback. We had you on privately before, and then we had you with Mike Lineback talking about bringing Columbia home. We had a beautiful Saturday event, book signing with you and Mike, so well received. But we've upped our game since you came here, as you can see. Oh my gosh,
it's just amazing the
beautiful
changes. Yeah.
earth behind us on a green screen, and we have to thank a young lady, Jessica Galloway, our Trekkie techie, who has taken Marty and I to new levels here, and we hope people enjoy it. And tell your friends to follow us, share us, subscribe to us, and like us. We need the numbers for our humble nonprofit to monetize some of this. Or if you feel like you need a tax break, you can just go to our website, and we got a convenient tab up there for you to make a nice donation. And Angie Roberts, our financial director, will send you the proper paperwork to get Uncle Sam crediting you that. So enough of our public announcements there.
Well, I got to say, I guess to follow on with having worked at the Air and Space Museum, this is, for me, the American Space Museum. This is where it's really happening. The Smithsonian's got all the pretty hardware, the stuff that went up there, the big machines, but you guys have got the real stories about what actually went on to make all this happen here. So
thank you, Jonathan.
This to me is it's wonderful place.
It's a pleasure just to be a way to just to be the reporter among this. Yeah. I'm an amateur astronomer like you, but we had tours going on today with Triple T, Travis Thompson, who put the astronauts in their spaceship. For over almost 30 years. He was doing tours here today. We had a bunch of kids in the building doing some STEAM projects. That was really great to see in here. So, but as a nonprofit, we pump our brakes because we want to abide by everybody to make. It's hard to make everybody happy, but that's what our nonprofit tries to do. And thank you for the compliments. Our exhibits are stellar because of our manager of those, Nick Enix. And did you stick your head in the women's new gallery in there?
Absolutely.
And so we've Jonathan's and here's my mug that Marty got me for Christmas. Might start randomly talking about astronomy. Yeah. Anybody ever accused you of that?
Oh, all the time. I randomly talk about anything. So that's yeah.
How can you know so much about something, Jonathan, and still be an amateur? Because I don't see amateur biologists out there dissecting frogs on the sidewalk and people lined up. Like when we throw our telescopes out, people are lined up to look at Saturn and Jupiter. Tell us about that impact in your life as a young person and how, as a both senior citizen, you're enjoying that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I think that to me is one of the great things about astronomy is, number one, I think we're all born with this curiosity about what goes on. I mean, ever since people were able to lift their heads up. I mean, I even had a dog that used to look at the moon. Oh,
wow.
What was
that dog's name?
Polly.
Polly.
Yeah,
right.
She was a bird dog, but I mean, I think it's one of those things where we look up in the sky, we wonder about it. It's wonderful with the age of the telescopes we've got now are relatively cheap compared to what they were back when you and I were younger. The computing power that's available, the kind of cameras that are available, you can take better pictures now from your backyard than the 200-inch Hale telescope could take in 1990.
That's true. The 200-inch telescope in 1990 couldn't rival, because there's film, but it is amazing. And it transcends to everybody. You hear about the super full moon and everybody's wondering about that, but it's only like barely, not that much bigger, but anything caught people's attention. But I agree with you. It connects something genetically in us with our ancient ancestors. And I'm talking the Mesopotamians and the cradle of civilization starting to sort out. Why is things moving overhead and stuff? But
I went out to set up my telescope at a golf course to take some pictures, and I was just amazed to see the number of people that had laid out blankets, and they were just when was the last time you saw people sit outside and just watch the sky get dark and watch the stars come out? You just don't see that very often, and to have an event like that that connected all these people back to something that didn't involve picking up their phones was just
We enjoy
absolutely
doing it.
incredible.
Like I say, you don't see
Yeah.
amateur chemists out there making big foam things out of test tubes and thrilling people, and that's what we do. Talking to Jonathan Ward, author, speaker. He is I wanted to say that what your real job is, because people know you so much as a rocket person here, is you are a certified executive coach by the International Coach Federation, and you're an adjunct faculty member at the Center for Creative Leadership. So tell us what that's all about.
Well, that's I guess that's what pays the bills, or it helps me afford to be able to come in down and do this. But I mean, this is something that I was doing back in corporate America full time, working with leadership teams and complex organizations, which actually led very easily into doing the book about the rocket ranch. What was it like to work in an organization like Kennedy Space Center and understand the rivalries that went on between the spacecraft people and the rocket launch vehicle people, and how do people get motivated around trying to work together towards important goals and things like that. Those are all lessons that tie into the challenges that leaders face nowadays as well.
Well, great. He's an excellent communicator, of course, and he's really been a great partner of our museum here. We'd love to see your smiling face when you come down here. You and your wife, Jane, reside in Greensboro, North Carolina. I used to have a sales managers meeting there when I managed a Ritz camera.
Wow.
In Greensboro, there at the mall, right off I-26.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Probably
Well, that's
Town Mall.
Greenville? Was that?
That's Greenville. You're
South
Greensboro.
Carolina.
Yeah, that's Greenville.
Right.
No. Oh, yeah, I guess it would be Greenville. But Greensboro, I've been to many times. Tell us about your children, because they're going to want to watch Dad on this on YouTube, we hope.
Children, my grandkids probably will, I should say at this point. My son is in his 40s now. He works for the Department.
What's his name?
His name is Ken. He works for the Department of Defense.
Hi, Ken.
He got his PhD from Embry-Riddle last year.
Oh.
In aeronautical engineering. So I was very proud of him for doing that. He had been in the Army in the 82nd Airborne.
Embry-Riddle, just up the road here, about 50 miles, home of Nicole Stott, and I think Ron, several other astronauts from that good engineering school. Yeah. I'm thinking. And you have another child.
My daughter, Rosie. Yeah, she lives in Winchester.
Okay. Hi, Rosie.
Yeah.
So we want to hear from your dad here about his notes here on his book, author's biography, says that he might be the only author about Apollo program who has appeared on 2 Grammy-winning albums, which were recorded during his years as a bass singer and soloist for the Washington, D.C. Chorus.
That's right, yeah. So that was a different Kennedy Center. That was the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts as opposed to the Kennedy Space Center.
Right, yeah. But no, all serious aside, that's some serious chops there. You actually sang bass and...
that was good. No, it was an amateur group, but we sang with the National Symphony Orchestra.
And what were the Grammy albums?
One was the live performance of the Benjamin Britten War Requiem, which won for best choral performance in 2000, and then one was Of Rage and Remembrance with John Corigliano and the National Symphony, which won for best classical album in 1996.
Jonathan, do you have a little Grammy on your shelf somewhere?
I have a pin, but we weren't allowed to keep the Grammy itself. So
that's cool.
Our conductor got that.
Did you go to the awards?
No, our conductor did that. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, amateur astronomy, just so many fascinating people I've met in my life, and that's what brought me this museum. Was I wanted to be their astronomy coordinator, and because Jonathan, I said the bright shiny object I have, and people like shiny objects. Come and see the rings of Saturn and the moons of Jupiter and the craters on the moon, and we know people just love it.
Oh, absolutely.
On there,
people don't believe that you can actually see the rings of Saturn for yourself in a very modest telescope.
They think you got a poster on the telephone pole over there.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you're enjoying our Stay Curious here with Jonathan Ward. We're going to talk about a couple of things we have in our studio. The Walkers from Flat Rock, Michigan. There, hello there, Walkers.
Hey,
hope you're enjoying us over there. We've got one of our board members, Stephanie, here. Hello there. And Mark Usiak's in the house. All right. And Mark Usiak, I couldn't even pronounce his name like 3 months ago. And it feels like I've known you for 20 years. We've really, because of the camera connection and shooting film and you and me astronomy, we just love it.
Well, I mean, so
I
again,
know,
you talk about amateurs versus pros. A lot of us amateurs can take great pictures, but Mark is the pro. Mark is the man that
yes,
can make
he
it.
is.
Absolutely.
Yep,
He and his
he
brother
is.
Tom are just absolutely
Right.
amazing photographers.
They're-
And I know when I see him at an event that it's going to be well documented, and we're going to have some great shots.
And like we say, it's not between your hands it's between your ears is where a photo is developed. Okay. And Flat Rock, Michigan. How about Dave Stang up there in Macomb, Michigan? Freezing. It's 60 degrees out today, but they're all worried about it getting in the 30s tonight and being chilly. But that's all right. We're gonna get back. Thank you, folks, for being here. Hope you're enjoying our show here, and tell your friends. Connie McDaniel, thank you for your nice remarks yesterday. We had Lowell Grissom in the house, and we're going to talk about Lowell in a minute. 88-year-old brother of Gus Grissom, who lost his life today, 55 years ago. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Hi, Dave Vranick in Fort Wayne, Indiana. This is Dave Vranick. That's what he's
right.
He has got some awesome astrophotography, and he's right there in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Dan McCune, crane operator, watching on there. We got Ophelia is watching. Ophelia Sauterelle, she's in Normandy, France. High Space Resources. Hi, Barry Pickens. Beverly Rother, I think you know Beverly.
Yeah, Beverly, yeah.
Yep,
Bill
say hi to
Sawchuk.
Beverly there.
Hey, Beverly. Hey, Bill. I see
Bill
Mike Jaskin.
Shawchuk, you know
Yeah,
him?
I know Bill very well. Yep.
All right,
yeah.
he's watching.
He is the king of badges.
Oh, he is.
He has every badge you can possibly imagine, going back to the 1920s.
Well, you've saw a few badges in our off-campus warehouse there.
Yeah.
You have to tell him about
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
Mike Robbins, Marie Stewart, thanks for walking. Michael Jaskey. And, of course, we got your big brother checking up on you today there. Tom Usiak is he's up there. And
He's freezing too.
have you seen plenty of pictures? You've seen plenty of pictures of palm trees and all that today.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about an event that you guys were at here this morning. Just a second. Marty, let's see what I got. We want to talk about our astronaut memorial that the American Space Museum in the city of Titusville is doing Saturday, 11 o'clock at Sandpoint Park. We will be broadcasting that on our YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Spotify live channels, and then days later it'll probably be on Google and Apple audio podcast. The picture here is actually pad 34 that I took a year ago when I was privileged to be out there on the night of the event on January 27th. It happened at 6:31, and let's look at that a little bit. As 55 years ago, the world stood still for anybody that was involved with the American space program. We were in a hot race to beat Russia to the moon. And we thought we were a little bit behind them at the time, and this three-man spacecraft was not put together as best as it could be. That's what is left of Pad 34. We're later this afternoon, I think, right now is ongoing, the memorial that they're doing out there. And it says there, this beautiful little plaque up there, and I think you know the history of who did that, who put that plaque there.
No, I'm not sure who put that there.
There's an individual who did that. On Friday, January 27th at 6:31, was when the accident fire happened. They gave their lives in service to their country in the ongoing exploration of humankind's final frontier. Remember them not for how they died, but for those ideals for which they lived. And that is how we end our service Saturday, if I can keep it together to say it all the way, because, you know, he was a Purdue graduate engineer. He was building with McDonnell in St. Louis the Gemini spacecraft. He was telling them where to put the controls and the switches and how things would work best for he and another guy in there, which was going to be John Young, and it became known as the Gus Mobile on there. So God bless him. We'll never forget 55 years later. And though we were teenagers, I remember Walter Cronkite breaking in on the news and that there's been an accident at Kennedy Space Center. And well, off to happier time. Before we get into that a second there, let's, Pam Shivik, she is, I believe, what you are, a solar system ambassador.
Oh, great.
Tell people what a solar system ambassador is. We'll get back to little.
Sure. Yeah, the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory has a wonderful volunteer program called the Solar System Ambassadors, and the idea is that we sign up. We get vetted first by NASA to make sure that we're that we understand what we're talking about and things like that. But the idea is to do at least 4 presentations to the public in some venue, whether it's to schools or to astronomy clubs or to public interest groups. Do at least 4 presentations during the course of the year about exploration mission, either a NASA mission or even just talking about astronomy and things like that. And so it's a great program. There are several thousand now solar system ambassadors across the country. And if you're ever looking for an opportunity to have a guest speaker at an astronomy club or something like that, I would encourage you to go to the Solar System Ambassador page, because these folks are eager to share.
So if you're a
insights.
Rotarian, a Kiwanis, any of those groups out there, we'd love to go to that stuff.
Absolutely,
in
yeah,
there.
and especially now in the days of COVID, when everybody's doing their meetings by Zoom, now you have this access to this whole
That's right.
network of people from across the country.
I actually talked on one of my high school best friend in Findlay, Ohio, his Kiwanis club by Zoom one time on there. A lot of fun, and they always enjoy space stuff no matter what. I was segueing into that. I was just kind of. I get emotional about this time of year when I see these pictures and stuff, and just and hearing the stories from people that lived it. What I wanted to segue to was today you were at the memorial that the Astronaut Memorial Foundation does on the campus of Kennedy Visitors Complex. They're the people with the Space Mirror. Tell us a little about that today.
Yeah, it was a small and relatively subdued ceremony. We were going to have it. We had it indoors because we weren't sure what the weather was going to be like. But when it looked to be clear, we were able to go outside for the laying of flowers at the memorial. But it's just it's such an honor to be able to be part of that and to celebrate the lives of these people who gave so much for us, and to have the family members there and get a chance to meet them and to know what they. Or you can only imagine what they must have gone through, losing a father or husband or brother. And and Lowell gave a wonderful talk about Gus, and very frank, and at the same time, nothing bitter about it at all. Just happy memories of him, and knowing that he was doing a great job, and that he probably may have been the first person to walk on the moon had he had the opportunity to do it.
And certainly his son told me that, Scott, that Dig Slayton's written in Dig Slayton's book and other places that he was going to get to be the commander and pick his own team there. And that brings the point, Jonathan, is we here at the American Space Museum want to honor these people for their accomplishments that they did achieve. We don't dwell on the tragedy or question what happened or try to get involved in any of that. That's not our place, though I've heard some very interesting things as a mosquito on the museum wall here about all these tragedies, all 3 of them. But we want to honor these people for the wonderful human beings they were. And Jonathan, as you've interviewed more astronauts and I get to meet astronauts, nothing more comes home to me than they're just regular people that did extraordinary jobs.
Absolutely.
And Mike Lineback always says that.
Yeah.
Address that a little bit.
Absolutely. I spent 2.5 hours of dinner with Eileen Collins last night at Dixie Crossroads, and just talking about everyday stuff. And again, you just trying to make this connection between this is the woman next door to this is somebody who commanded 2 space shuttle missions and flew as pilot on 2 of them, and
they called her Mom.
Yeah,
her nickname was Mom.
Yeah, it came close to a near disaster on one of her missions without even realizing it. Until after they had analyzed what happened.
That was the Gamma Ray Observatory.
Or the 93 STS 93.
Yeah.
But
when the engines went out early and they had to abort to orbit. The only time they've done that, but they did make it to orbit.
Yeah, it was. Well, they had a short circuit that caused the engine controllers to go down, and yeah, it was
Well,
harrowing, and a hydrogen leak as well. But,
perfect segue here.
yeah.
Thank you, sir, to you and Eileen. Okay. Blow that up here a little bit for me,
Yeah.
Marty. Thank you, sir. There you are with the book. There she is. And tell us a little bit about how this book came about and how you may have been benefited by the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, I had been on. Eileen wrote the epilogue to Bringing Columbia Home, and it was where I first really got a chance to work with her. And when I found out she didn't have her own memoirs out there, I tried pestering her on several occasions that, you really ought to think about doing that. And whether it's me or somebody else, just think about doing it,
Yeah,
because you really
right,
need to tell
right.
that story. And then in April of 2020, she called me up and said, hey, are you still interested in working on my memoirs? All my speeches for the year have been canceled because all the public appearances have been canceled due to COVID. And all my work at Center for Creative Leadership had also gone away because that was all based on face-to-face
Right.
classes. So we both were faced with time,
Right.
and so we decided to work on it. And we started, the Cinco de Mayo was our first interview. And it was a combination of both doing it over the phone. It was all done virtually. It was all done either over the phone, or I would ask her about certain things. The missions she flew for NASA, obviously there's a lot of information out there about that, but all of the things about her Air Force career or her early years, none of that was public information. And so she had to produce that information. And so she went off and wrote a lot, and we had a lot of good discussions around things. It was just a really nice partnership. It worked out perfectly well.
Triple T says she's the best pilot to ever land the shuttle on the runway. Always hit it on the dime, because she flew those gigantic cargo airplanes. Like,
Yeah.
she didn't fly the big guppy thing, but she flew other big
She's C-141.
C-141s.
Yeah.
And he said she was the most accurate lander of all on her 4 missions. And you could always tell a Navy pilot because he'd scorch those tires like he was on an aircraft carrier when the shuttle was landing on there. Let's well, we're going to talk about your other 4 books here. There's the cover of that. Sorry for the pixelation there, but we quickly pulled these up there.
Yeah.
I have not read it. I can't wait to read it. I'm only reading about 3 books right now.
It has a happy ending, just to
looking
let you know.
Oh, it has a happy ending.
Yeah, there you
Good. But I'm so happy for you, and like you're like the Usiak brothers and other people I've met here. We're just such great fits, and you're such a good friend of this museum. I'm going to tell you when we show these other books about how he's introduced the museum. There's Bringing Columbia Home, which there's other books written about the disaster, but this really focuses on the recovery and the people of Texas and Louisiana. The stories in here are just incredible. The love and outpouring for it's just, I'm chilling right now. Just things that Triple T's told me and stuff, and Mike Leinbach and you really are a good writer, Jonathan, and really get things across well. By the way, Chris Calley.
Hey, Chris. All
says
right.
hi there. He's watching.
We'll talk about another person who's at the top of his game. I mean, Chris is one of the most phenomenal artists you could possibly.
And a chip off the old block with his father, Paul. And I've researched everything I could find on these gentlemen because we want them involved in our museum in some way here. And looking forward to meeting you, Chris, Friday night with the little pizza. If Marty still doesn't pull my ticket yet there, and
Be nice.
Marty says be nice. So, and also thank you, Sylvia, for watching the show. Sylvia made me this vest.
Oh, very
you
nice.
Like how that vest looks?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
She didn't make it. She bought it for me, I think. But it's so good to see Sylvia staying curious out there. Your other book, Countdown to a Moon Launch and Rocket Ranch, okay? I'm going to just preface this real quick that you came into the Space Museum and asked our executive director for some materials to research these. She gave them to you, and some board members didn't like that because they didn't know who in the heck you were. So take it from there, sir.
It was one of those things that I'm not exactly sure how it happened. I got introduced to a couple of folks here who were former space workers, and I think after the course of interviewing them, they realized that I was seriously interested in this as wanting to tell the stories. And so recommendations came across. Somebody recommended that I meet Charlie Mars, and of course, he had me come in, and I got a chance to.
You had to get the permission from the Godfather first.
Right. Yeah,
we
that's
love
right.
Charlie, and he was looking good at our board meeting here the other day.
That's great. No,
Yeah.
so it was just one of those things that I think you build credibility by following through on commitments to people, and and listening thoughtfully to what they have to say,
And that's your
things
career.
Like,
That's what you've taught, is
exactly.
teaching people. You say something, do it.
Yeah.
Or tell them why you're not going to do it, or whatever.
Yeah, and have a good conversation about it, and listen to what they have to say. So, for whatever reason, one thing led to another, and I'm glad that Karen was generous to let me borrow those materials, not knowing who I was or anything like that. But
these books are a good read. They really you get the words of the space workers. You get the feel of what it was like around here, and we have them here in our library. All these books are available where?
They're all on Amazon.
And you're going to buy these books with your Amazon Smile as American Space Museum, your favorite nonprofit, right?
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Good to do it.
And we have it. We have the Rocket Ranch. We got your book with Lineback, Bring Columbia Home up there, and we'll get some books in here. And though we're not going to press, we're all about attraction. We hope Eileen and you can come back here and do a book signing for
Absolutely,
us at the appropriate time.
I would love to do that.
And of course, she is the past president or still president of the Astronaut Memorial Foundation.
Past president, yeah.
So she's in the Space Coast a lot. Where does Eileen live?
She lives in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But she fondly remembers her early days before she ever had a flight. She was a Cape Crusader out here, so she helped Triple T as a member of his team.
The C Squared, the Cape Crusader, stayed here for a year to learn everything to share with the other astronauts back in Houston.
And then to help strap her teammates in or her friends in to fly off on their missions. So.
Good. Yeah. Okay. And tell us these 4 books that you have out there. Tell me a little bit about what you discovered about yourself in writing these books.
Oh, it was one of those things. I guess I never felt that I had the stick-to-itiveness to see a big project like this through. But what I really learned is if you're passionate about something, you can really make it happen, and you don't mind putting in the hours on the details. And it's that when I go back and try to reread, especially the Apollo books, it's like, where did how did I remember all of that stuff? Because I've certainly forgotten a lot of it after having written it down. I'm glad I wrote it down, but it's one of those things that if you can be really focused for a while, you can make it happen. And this is something I can thank my father for. He turned me into a real somebody who's going to be extremely careful with words. When I would send him letters when he was in Vietnam, he would circle the grammatical errors and send them back to me.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Your dad's a Vietnam veteran. What branch of service?
He was with the he was a civilian over there at the time. But,
okay. Marty's a proud Marine, hoorah, from the Vietnam era there. And,
he and my brother were both over there at the same time, my older brother. But my dad was.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Jeez, that's. Yeah. Because your brother would have been 19, 20 years old. Huh?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome.
So,
well, we're enjoying a great conversation here with Jonathan Ward. We forgot to mention that we couldn't be doing this outreach without an endowment from the Marie Louise G West Endowment that gave us $5,000 to buy our computer equipment and so forth. We're very grateful for that. And we got another $6,000 from you next year or last year to directly help us with the show here, and we appreciate that. I wanted to just mention that you and Eileen are happily married, right? Marty, make this picture bigger here. This looks like the prom night.
This was
in there, but you're both good with your spouses, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This was at Hemp Hill, Texas. This was at Ground Zero for the Columbia accident. We went to their museum, had a fundraiser in October, and it happened to be just when we had both gotten our the copies of the books that just come out from the publisher. So we went and signed 200 books for each other, and then went to this fundraiser.
Oh wow, little cramp on there.
Yeah,
she was. She does Facebook, and I watched her open up her books in her driveway. One day when they came there, that was kind of interesting. She didn't even drag them into the kitchen table or anything like that. She just opened them right there in the driveway when the UPS guy dropped them off. But
she was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal to work with. I mean, what was really nice was she empowered me to help keep her on track because she's got so many different things that she's involved in. Even with COVID, she was still on 4 corporate boards or nonprofit boards, and so she had all of that going on. And so,
and children, I know she's happily married. Her husband's
she's got 2 adult children, but one's in college, but it was really nice. She just said, "Okay, give me a deadline. Tell me what I have to have done. You know, I'll make a commitment. We'll have this to you by such and such a time." And so,
well, quickly, I met you once, Eileen. We hope you're here at the museum. She was at East Tennessee State University in Johnson City, Tennessee, during her usual talk. And afterwards, I'm talking to her to get a story for my column I wrote on space and astronomy. And she says, "Gee, I don't know where my rental car's parked. Do you know where it's at?" "Oh, yes, ma'am. I know where it's at. I'll walk you across campus." And she was on Jay Leno a couple nights before that. And I said, "I saw you on Jay Leno last night." And she goes, "Oh, shucks, I don't know why NASA wanted me to do that." And I remember just blurting out, "We love you, Eileen. You're the first commander of a spaceship. You're the first pilot. Oh, my God, it was so great, you know." So we hope that you can come and visit our museum, because we hope that you watch this and see what a great job this gentleman does to represent not just himself in his endeavors, but everybody that's associated with it.
well, thank you.
Let's talk a segue here at our end of our conversation here with Jonathan Ward, talking about every amateur astronomer out there now will be green with envy and hate and everything, because you are a resident astronomer on this ship is the Jupiter ship that you're on for Viking Cruises.
Yeah.
So we want you to talk a little bit about that. How'd that happen? And this was your first cruise that you went on?
Well, I'd been on other cruises before as a passenger, but
Correct.
this was the first time as a Viking is great. On 2 of their ships, they have planetariums. The Orion and the Jupiter both have planetariums that can hold 26 people.
We're going to see the inside of that.
Yeah, that's the planetarium dome behind me there.
All right.
But they have a position called a resident astronomer. They have a resident historian, and then they have a resident astronomer, and then they have other speakers. But the idea is that you give a series of lectures as part of the enrichment programs for the Viking is big in doing the enrichment talks rather than having casinos, the ones that do the Northern Lights cruises.
There's a beautiful moon on deck there.
Yeah, crossing the Atlantic. This one is a cruise that went from Barcelona across to Buenos Aires, and then all the way around South America to Santiago, and then back around to Buenos Aires again. So this was my first time in the Southern Hemisphere. So I got
to see Orion upside down.
I got to see Orion upside down. I got to see the Southern Cross. That was talk about sharing things with people. That was wonderful, because in these planetarium shows, I would show them the sky tonight, and I'd say, by the way, if we have a clear night, anytime there's a clear night, just expect to find me up on deck. And we had the captain turn off the deck lights up on the top floor, and we had red lights, red pillar lights, so your eyes were dark adapted. And
I've got a picture to show you of that.
Yeah.
Here you have people inside the planetarium.
Yeah, but
Were you an experienced planetarium person beforehand?
Never done this before, and actually this was kind of like, it was more or less a canned show, but I could make my own comments.
There you are at the controls of it.
Yeah.
Great photo there. And then this is
that's the bar in the Explorers Lounge. They're an astronomy themed bar.
Awesome.
Yeah. Really
They have
nice.
astronomy themed drinks.
Yeah. You would think they should. But no, it was wonderful, because the people would come up on deck, and I'd say, there's the Southern Cross. We'd point it out with a laser pointer. We'd look at Orion upside down. They actually had some beautiful telescopes on the ship, which were actually pretty difficult to use.
That's a stellar view, I think. There.
That's a Takahashi 130. That's like an $8,000 telescope.
Yeah, that's $8,000 telescope there.
But
without the mount, okay.
Yeah, and then trying to use that on a moving ship was a little tough. And then there's a solar scope that we had on there as well.
So to look at the sun doesn't take very big, and the sun activity is going up.
Yeah.
There's your red lights.
Yeah, and then the people
is that
out
the
there.
space station going across?
No, that's just a wire line there. But yeah, but it was so much fun watching these folks, because after you showed them the stars the first couple of times, they'd come up the next nights and they'd be showing their friends everything they'd learned, and so that's how you know things are going really well. So this is the Southern Cross here. It's kind of upside. It's near the center, bottom center. It's tilted sideways.
Oh, I see. It's a little triangle right there.
That's it. Yeah, and then the little line is the International Space Station.
Oh, that's the space station.
Yeah.
Marty's the line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and then
so there's the space station. Then go down to your right.
at 5 o'clock. A little further, a
little
little
farther
further, a little further, a little more.
There you go.
A little more up to the
Now go
2 o'clock.
yeah.
A little higher. You're one a little bit up.
There you go. That's the Southern
Those
Cross.
4 stars are the Southern Cross.
Yeah.
There. In twilight.
Yeah.
Looks like.
And then
so
Alpha,
you can see the Magellanic Clouds too. Huh?
Yeah, and Alpha and Beta Centauri over the side. What was interesting with this group, because it went from close to the
see
equator.
Alpha and Beta Centauri from
Yeah.
our latitude here.
Oh, okay. Close to the equator, it got dark at night. But when we went way far south, we went around Cape Horn, which is like 56 degrees south latitude, and so it never got to be twilight down there.
Marty,
So, yeah,
I want to go to the southern horizon, but not beam me there. Okay, I want to see the southern sky. Thank you.
So we had nights where it was just like twilight all night long. It never got dark. So
that's interesting. And here's the last slide we have on there.
Yeah. So this was an artist from Uruguay, and
this is part of your he had so many beautiful photographs of the tours, the protocols. Go to Jonathan Ward's Facebook. He'd love to have you look at his things there. You shared them there, but I figure this you bought somewhere to the market.
Yeah. This is a famous Uruguayan artist, and he said, why does North have to be at the top for people who live in the Southern Hemisphere? Why can't South be at the top? So, and then I was able to recognize actually what that constellation was over on the side that he drew there too. That's the constellation Grus the Crane, which is very low down from where I live. But it was almost directly overhead when I was down there. But I really enjoyed
that's
that.
A cool little memento there.
What was really interesting for me, if I got a second to talk
not
about
really rivaling Chris Callie's artwork there, but
to me, seeing the Southern Cross and everything, it was kind of cool. So like everything from overhead to the south was stuff you'd never seen before. Everything from overhead to the north was things you'd seen before, but now it was upside down, and you're only seeing part of it.
Yeah.
So like Orion upside down and the Pleiades upside down, low on the northern horizon.
Confused where you see Aldebaran and then
but
we're talking shop now, but it's
but
I've never been south of the equator to see the Magellanic Clouds and the other constellations down there. And though we have a star that points to the North Pole, the southern pole does not point to a star. It's just a little vacant area there.
Yeah. You've got your clear star dome back or in the back there, and that was what I realized. It was kind of like one of these aha moments. I saw myself standing on a globe at 30 degrees north latitude, and then standing on a globe at 40 degrees south latitude, and rather than looking at a map, but now I could see myself kind of like pointing in different directions like this.
Right.
And I started, now the stars look like a big sphere to me as opposed to a hemisphere. Now I could suddenly envision the stars wrapping all the way around the Earth. It was just kind of this weird feeling of three-dimensionality that I got that also when I was watching a solar eclipse, that suddenly now the sky looked three-dimensional to me rather than flat.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how things like that will just hit you somehow. Maybe there's no real scientific thing behind it, but it just kind of gives you a feeling of your place in the universe.
And we do have a unique place in the universe. Us Earthlings on a planet, and the only border that matters is this thin blue line there. Yeah. Those are 3 Stodisms from Nicole's book, Return to Earth. We've got Andrew Olivia, Tom Celentano, and we've got Bor, a Russian name I can't pronounce there. Thank you very much. We heard from a gentleman in Bulgaria, no, a woman in Bulgaria, who's a science educator there. So it's incredible. I know that Robert Law has thoroughly enjoyed this, drinking a cocktail in Dundee, Scotland. What do you think of this author, Robert? Have you got his books on your shelf yet? You better. He's one of our #1 people there. And at the same time, we got Christopher Mick in Hudson, Wisconsin. I think he's a NASA Solar System ambassador. In fact, I know Christopher Mick is, and a STEAM educator up there. Dean Salzwittle's in New Zealand, enjoying his brekkie on a Friday morning. We can't wait to get to Sunday, can we, Marty? We got some heavy days of memorials and stuff like that today and tomorrow, and And but we're grateful to do it, and we're blessed to do it. Yes, Marty.
Yeah, Maurice Stewart says he's the founder of Sky Viewers International Facebook group in Toronto, Canada.
Wow.
Okay, Mr. Stewart, Skyview International Facebook group. So we can check that out in Toronto. And a lot of Marquettes running around up there in Toronto, I think. That's quite a popular name up there. So, well, we hope that you've all enjoyed this. Let's go back the books. Just Google Jonathan Ward. You'll find his books in there. We thank you so much for sharing this with us here. Always anxious for you to come here from the Carolinas and travel down here. I showed you a couple of the museum galleries that changed there.
Yeah.
How do you think of the work that Karen Conklin's doing here?
You guys are just doing amazing jobs down here. I mean, it would be so easy for the museum to be stagnant, but every time I come down here, there's life and vitality and changes that are going on. And you've got so many wonderful people who come out here and volunteer, people like Triple T. And, you know, it's just, no, it feels exciting. It really does feel exciting. And, it's not a stuffy old attic of
No.
mothballed kind of things, but I mean, it honors the past, but it's also looking forward to the future as well.
Well, thank you. We try hard. We're humble. We're small, but we know our own lane. We know we're not going to be a Kennedy Visitors Complex. We don't want to be that. We want to honor the space workers who put us on the moon, built the International Space Station, and the new legacy of the private companies has brought this whole Space Coast back alive. Yeah. And you see that. And so we're really glad you're here, Jonathan. I picked out a little thing. I was going to send you home with a little bit of swag from our secret sources that we have around here, our annex in there. But I thought you'd like to have this. I picked out an International Space Station coin from STS-88 that contains metal flown on it's Atlantis, F-88. And the space station, and thought you'd like to have that for your collection.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. I really appreciate that. Thank
something
you.
that has been in space. This coin. Let me have that back a second there before I give it to you. My pitch is this coin in Brevard County, right here, sitting here 10 miles from where it was launched to space in Brevard County. And that's the unique heritage of the people and the kids that we want to connect with here at the American Space Museum. And of course, we need bushel baskets full of $100 bills to do that. So make your tax deduction on our website up at the top is a great way to do it. But seriously, we are a nonprofit that we hope is attracting your interest to help us out. We think our cause is worthy, and it's going to be never ending here. Jonathan, Marty and I were in Washington, D.C. with Triple T at Spotsylvania and walking around all those beautiful Civil War battlefields and stuff there. And the items in our museum are about 60 years old, some of them. The oldest relics are from the 1950s in our Cape Canaveral gallery. 65 years old, we have things here. Well, Civil War things from the 1860s are 160 some years old. And that's what we're all about, Jonathan, is in 100 years, we want these things to be observed by people just like Civil War things.
Yeah.
And it's people like yourself getting the word out and the beautiful books that you're writing about the space workers that is helping our efforts here.
Well, I think, anything we can be doing to document what people did. I mean, there's so many people. I can't tell you how many people have contacted me and said, like, I know my dad or my uncle worked for the space program, but I have no idea what they did.
Right.
And there's such a crying shame that kind of personal connection was lost. And I think everything here in the museum has got that personal connection. And you guys have been doing a phenomenal job of gathering those stories and keeping that kind of memory alive. Because in another 50 years, we're not going to be around. Those of us who were involved in this are not going to be around.
No, I won't be around 50 years. I wish I was around for 2062 to see Halley's Comet one more time. But I don't think that's going to happen here. Jonathan, thank you. God bless you and all you stand for. You're really a good man and a good writer. Check his books out on Amazon and buy them on your Amazon Smile account so we get a little bit of boost for our nonprofit there. Is there anything that didn't ask you'd like to share with our Stay Curious audience?
No, I think that's great. Again, it's just it's always a thrill to be down here, and thanks for all the work that you all do down here. It's I don't have any other nonprofits mentioned in my will, but you guys are mentioned in my will, so I just thought I would
Well, thank you very
throw
much.
that out there. So
All
for the
right.
rest of you who you might be thinking about that too, yeah,
No, we appreciate
this,
that.
this is a place that I hope will live on for a long, long time.
Well, thank you again, and it's because of, like I said, people like you that do it. So, on behalf of Marty Winkle, our whole staff here, thank you for our audience watching here. Hope you enjoyed Jonathan Ward here. All of our great watchers out there, please tell people they can rewatch this on our YouTube channel and Facebook. Marty, we're up to 487 episodes
Man.
of Stay Curious. They brought us a cake and a party for the 100th. And so I wonder what they're going to do for 500. Yeah. But no, it's because of you wanting this that we're doing this, and we're so grateful for that. So tomorrow's Friday, and you know what that means. Tales from the White Room with Travis Todd Thompson, Triple T. You know, it's a sad day in space history, January 28th, when we lost Challenger. He's going to tell us a little bit about that day, but he's going to tell us about the day before that had to be scrubbed when they couldn't get the door handle out and what that was all about. So join us again tomorrow. Until then, I'm Mark Marquette and can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us.